Well, we're very excited about our new strategic plan. And one of the things I want to make sure I'm doing, and we're all doing as museum advocates, is to ensure the relevancy of museums in the 21st century. So the plan, I think, really enforces that because we are focusing primarily on learning, community, and content. And when you think about that, I really think it's important to place the museums as part of our educational ecosystems to make sure everyone understands what an important role we play in informal learning. Also, museums are huge contributors to the well-being and health of communities. Our museums are community anchors in that many people go to museums and share unique experiences there, and they really play an important part in the lives of our communities. And finally, one of our third goals we're focusing on is content. So, you know, I think one of the unique features that museums and libraries bring to our culture is content. We have all kinds of great content, objects, digital objects, virtual content, and making sure that content is available to the public and curated effectively is really a critical role for museums and libraries, particularly in terms of preserving content, making sure it's in great shape, and also making sure it's available widely, hopefully by digitizing or becoming somewhat more virtual than it is now. But I think by focusing on those clear roles and messages, we can really help support the relevance of museums. The strategic plan also has a couple of elements that are somewhat new to IMLS, and one is the development and formulation of information policy. And although this is not quite as pertinent to museums as it is to libraries, it's very important. IMLS, the Institute of Museum and Library Services, is the only agency really that advises the federal government, both the administration and Congress, on information policy and also intellectual property issues in terms of making content available to the public. So that can also affect the wonderful content we have in museums, and we want to make sure that our content remains freely available to all. That's an important role that IMLS is playing. Another goal in our strategic plan is really to make sure that IMLS is reviewing and examining the investments we're making in all of our grantees and providing an opportunity to evaluate those investments, both for our grantees as they do specific projects, but also stepping back and looking at our investments as a whole, and from our point of view, trying to identify best practices, most promising practices, and creating communities of practice among our grantees so we can really move the playing field forward for museums. So we're very excited about focusing more on performance and the impact that IMLS funds and activities are playing in our communities. And I think that's really important also to all the advocates out there. Great stories to tell our funders, Congress and the executive branch and all our local partners too. We need to let them know the impact that IMLS funds, but really more importantly, museums are making in their communities. I think that museums are part of our cultural community fabric, and they play a major part in informal and lifelong learning for our communities. And what I'm trying to showcase is that museums and libraries are not nice to have, they're essential parts of our community. And I think to ensure the relevance of museums, that role as a member of the educational ecosystem in our communities is really important to reinforce. So in terms of relevance, I really think engaging with our communities when our museums create content and focus on the content they have that is meaningful to our communities will really help those institutions remain relevant.